What's going on there, everybody? I am just Rob, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite RASMUS songs. As of right now, because this list changes every few bunches of oats of months. Because as anybody could tell you, when it comes to their favorite band, or at least one of their favorite bands, it's hard to just pick 10 songs and have that be the forever list, you know what I mean? A few people have suggested this video for quite some time, ever since I dropped my review of Dark Matters, so I'm finally getting around to it. Originally, I was supposed to do this video on Friday, a sequel video to it on Saturday, and another sequel to it, a nice little trilogy, all throughout the weekend, but I got sick. I'm a little bit better now, so I'm just gonna start getting on with it. So, number 10, Living in a World Without You from Black Roses. Living in a World Without You and Black Roses kinda came into my life just by sheer randomness. I remember always looking up on iTunes to see if the RASMUS had released something. I could never find anything on the web. And then just one day, magically, before I saw it anywhere else, I saw that there was a new RASMUS album out. It had been out for a couple of months at that point, and I was just sitting there punching myself in the face like, what the hell? And of course, the first song that I heard off of that record was Living in a World Without You. Going through some shizzle at that point in time, and as per usual, the RASMUS were there and making me feel more than I really wanted to, but at the same time giving me a very therapeutic afterthought and kind of helping me come to terms with everything that was and is. So, Living in a World Without You, it deserves this 10 spot for me. Number 9, one and only, from Into. Into is one of the later records that I really got into from the RASMUS, because my love for the RASMUS started with Dead Letters and then Onward, and in between all of that I would go back to their past records and really explore what the band was all about when they first started. Clearly their first few records were very, very different from what we've been getting since Dead Letters, but Into was this very, very beautiful little middle ground record. And One and Only was one of the first songs that really attached me to this record, that really drew me into this record, both in its sound and in its lyrics as well. So it's kind of hard not to have one or two songs on this list off of Into. Number 8, Don't Let Go from Hide from the Sun. And just putting this out there now, there's gonna be quite a few other songs from Hide from the Sun on this list. I don't think I really need to hold off on saying, but Hide from the Sun apparently is my favorite the RASMUS record, so more on that in a different video. Don't Let Go reminds me of two things when I listen to it. The first 6 months of my freshman year of high school and Kyle XY. Because at the time, obviously, going to high school, and around that time, I was watching Kyle XY as the seasons came out on DVD. But Don't Let Go has this very atmospheric sound to it, and it's very, like, not angelic, it's got a very bright yet dark kind of feeling to it. It's a dark light. Yeah, it's a really bad joke right there, but it's the best way that I can really describe it, because it's a very bright track, but at the same time behind it, it's a very dark track at the same time. Really helped me out during them growing pains days during freshman year and growing accustomed to a new bunch of crap and everything like that. So yeah, Don't Let Go's got a bit of a history behind it for me, and still to this day as I listen to it, I can just still remember the aura, the air around all of those moments, and just hating it so very much. Number 7, Heart of Misery from Hide from the Sun. Like I said before, it's couple of tracks on here from Hide from the Sun. Heart of Misery and Don't Let Go kind of go together hand in hand. Only this one does remind me of Kyle XY. This just reminds me of a really weird romance that was going down in my life during freshman year. A very cancerous and bad kind of a romance, if you can call it that. I was with somebody that I really shouldn't have been with, and in the back of my mind it was just really, really, really messing with me. And Heart of Misery was very, very, very much my safety net during this whole horrible, horrible situation. And I found when compiling this list, and as long as it took me to compile this list, that the RASMUS was there for me during those really, really tense moments in my life, especially involving romance, more than any other band. Even more than Him. Ironically enough, I feel like Him was more there for the good times and RASMUS the bad, so I guess they balanced each other out. But Heart of Misery is always going to have a special place in my heart, and every time I listen to it, I remember, you know, don't bullshit. Be true to yourself, be true to the other people around you, because the more you sink yourself, the more you sink the others around you, and they will eventually get wise to you and just drop you. So, yeah. Number 6. Crystalline from Dark Matters. Crystalline off of Dark Matters obviously had that Into kind of a twist to it, and that's essentially what made that track stand out to me the most off of Dark Matters. And since Dark Matters has dropped, and since I have been listening to it since its release, I've still found that Crystalline is the megaton track off of the record. I find that is the strongest off the record, and even though it hasn't soundtracked any hard times for me as of recently, it's still just a very pure, crystal clear, no pun intended, kind of a track. And for fans young and old, I can definitely see this song being a staple to them as well, just because it kind of has that saving message almost. It's one of those songs you kind of have to read between the lines with, and sometimes you can get a double meaning out of that, and sound, vocals, lyrics, you really can't go wrong with Crystalline. Number 5, In My Life from Dead Letters. In My Life from Dead Letters was probably the last song I fell in love with when it came to Dead Letters. It was just really good timing with this song. You know, life throwing curveballs at you and you kind of just retreating to your music and seeing what your music can do to help you where no other person or thing can. And loving this song was honestly just a random thing. I wasn't expecting to listen to this song, but I kept listening to the intro over and over and over and over and over to the point where I just said, okay, let me just let this whole song play out, and then I just went on a binge of listening to this song. And still, the intro piece is one of my favorite openings to a Rasmus track ever. Number 4, I'm a Mess from the Rasmus. Oh man, let's talk about good bad timing. So the Rasmus had dropped I'm a Mess, I believe towards the springtime of 2012, or at least late winter. And around that time, again, going through a lot of personal crap, dealing with feelings I really didn't want to friggin' deal with. And then I'm a Mess from the Rasmus drops, and I am just addicted. It was my final year of high school. I only had 2 hours worth of classes, and every day just walking to and from school, I would be listening to I'm a Mess, and even to this day, I still feel the power and the feeling behind this track, the same power and feeling that I felt the day I first heard it, and that's why it is so up high on this list. It was I believe, technically this was the first time in being a Rasmus fan for me that I had heard a song, a brand new song, before the record had come out. So the hype just was there. So I finally had hype for another Rasmus record because I missed out with Black Roses. I didn't even know the thing was out until 5 or 6 months afterwards. I'm a Mess comes out. I am just totally out there. I remember listening to I'm a Mess so many friggin' times. I'm pretty sure it's one of the most listened to songs in my iTunes, and rightfully so. Yes, it might be the album's #1 radio hit single, but I can't turn myself away from this song, from the record overall. It's just way too many feelings behind it, and way too much nostalgia, and still power, the feeling, the energy, it's all still there. Track 3, Small Town from Into. Small Town off of Into was a random hit out of nowhere. After I had gotten Into and I had put it on my iPod and such, I would just let these records play out, but for some reason I never remember listening to Small Town after finally getting Into. It was more so One and Only, Somebody Else, a few others I believe, but it was sometime after initially having Into and going on to other music that I was listening to it, and I remember looking at the track listing, I'm like, Small Town, why do I not remember that? And then the it just stuck with me, and from the title to the lyrics to the vocals to the instrumental sound, Small Town really did just give me this very small town, big personality kind of feel behind it. And it reminds me a lot of going from the main campus to the secondary campus in high school. Just as a little side note here, I screwed up big time my freshman year of high school. So I was put into a secondary campus with a bunch of other students there, and you were basically able to move ahead in the first 6 months of the year so you can actually get the hell out of high school. Our high school had 4 buildings, 4 very large buildings, and going from that to a classroom and a group of kids where it was just 60 of us, it was nuts. It was different. But yeah, Small Town's always going to remind me of making that transition from the original campus to the smaller, very much smaller campus, and it just reminds me of getting breakfast with my friends back in those days. It reminds me of just having fun the entire school year, just because I was able to get so much more work done and hang out after school was over, something I couldn't do too much of during my freshman year. So yeah, it reminds me of that. It's fun. Track 2, Stranger from the RASMUS. Stranger, I believe, was the second single off of the self-titled record, and this was instantaneously my second favorite song off of the record when it released. I love the music video for this song. I love the lyrics behind this song. I love everything about this song, just like I love everything about the other songs that I mentioned on here. But Stranger is just really, really important. Yet again, it brings up memories from a time in my life where I don't like to revisit too much, but listening to this song, listening to the lyrics and such, it really brings out the purity in those times, in those moments. And it reminds me that when it comes to that specific part of my life and that specific subject of my life, anything can happen at any time with any kind of person. You never know what's going to happen. Stranger as a song, you know, it makes me think. It honestly makes me think about my future. It makes me think who I might be spending my life with. It makes me think about a lot, honestly. And that's why it's number 2. Plus memories, nostalgia, and all the other kind of stuff. Number 1. My number 1 favorite The RASMUS song of all time, or at least for the time being, is Keep Your Heart Broken from Hide from the Sun. Now, when I undertook this rather hard idea of doing my top 10 favorite The RASMUS songs, I started from Peep and went onwards. And the reason why there's not anything from Peep, Playboys, and Hell of a Tester in this video is simply because I didn't grow up with those records. I really didn't listen to those records too much as I was becoming a RASMUS fan, because I was just stuck on Dead Letters, Hide from the Sun, Black Roses, The RASMUS, Dark Matters, and Into as well. Don't get me wrong though, the RASMUS' cover of the Ghostbusters theme, should have used that for that new Ghostbusters movie, not Fall Out Boy and Missy Elliott, whatever abortion that crap was. But it's when I got to Hide from the Sun where all the feels came in, all the memories came in, and I remember just how much I truly love this record, and it's 95% of it, because I have that US bonus track version with all those bonus tracks and stuff. But Keep Your Heart Broken is another one of those songs that takes me back to a specific romance in high school. A very lesson-filled romance. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that just because it's way too blah, blah, blah. But this song, and I hope I don't sound cliche in saying this song was a lifesaver. This song was a life lesson in and of itself. It's hard to explain without getting into details, but just know the reason why this is my number 1 is because it essentially helped me out of a situation that I don't know I would have been able to get out of without the help of this song, this album, and music overall. Yes, I would have gotten out of it, but I don't know how I would have gotten out of it without this song. I don't know what the ramifications would have been. But when it comes to Keep Your Heart Broken, a lot of memories, a lot of feels. And despite all this negative stuff surrounding this song, I can still listen to this song 14 times in a row. So, it's a great song, it's a life lesson, rarely makes me feel like a somber boy, and overall the song is kind of like an old friend. I could not listen to this song or Hide from the Sun for a very, very long time, but come back to it and feel like nothing's changed, but everything feels new again. So, those are my top 10 favorite The RASMUS songs of all time, at least for now. What are some of your favorite songs from The RASMUS? Comment down below and tell me. I understand that this list might be very, mainstream. I can't help it. A lot of the songs I mentioned were radio singles, but obviously at the time I didn't friggin' know that because I didn't live in these places where the RASMUS was extremely prominent. The only time the RASMUS was ever any prominent in the US is when Dead Letters came out and Guilty and In the Shadows were actually being played on the radios because of Bam Margera. After that, never again. So I apologize if it's a bit of a mainstream list, but I am going to say I have 2 more The RASMUS videos planned, my favorite bonus tracks, and The RASMUS is going to be the very first band that I do a video on for my new series called Dissecting the Discography. I'm going to look at all of their records and I'm going to rate them from my least favorite to my super favorite. Least favorite does not mean I don't like the records. I will explain that when that video comes about. So get ready for that and more. Maybe I'll even do a list on my favorite The RASMUS music videos. Who knows? But until then, whenever then, I have been Just Rob Crazy Calyx. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.